Of social media, yeah.
Wow. It's so crazy. When I found out that I was interviewing you, I had already, it feels weird or awkward to say, but I've already was following you because I followed you. I found out about you through his page.
Oh, okay.
I think someone, I don't have TikTok, but someone showed me something from TikTok, and that's how I saw Consciously. And then it got to you, and I was like, oh, these brothers know what they're talking about. Like, let me follow this. You know, like people need to aware stuff. So like, I was so excited when I found out. So yeah, I'm really cool with the idea of social media really being that next platform for people, especially when it's about things that you are good at. You know, like we want to have that kind of connection with you, I think, in this day and age. Yeah. So for our viewers, you know, who are primarily high school students who watch this and you know, they want to know, what does it take, I guess, to move forward, you know, with this kind of content creation? Can you please let them know that it's not an overnight situation? Or, I mean, though in certain people's cases, it can be an overnight.
Yeah, some people are like, what? Some people like open the door and go viral. It's like, oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
But I would argue that those, and this is just kind of how I'm thinking about it now, I would argue many times for those folks who do have that easy you know, shoot to like just going viral off of something that doesn't really have any meat on the bone, so to say. It doesn't have any context, doesn't have really any spirit to it or mission or goal to the thing that they're doing. As far as on social media, a lot of times that stuff can go in phases, right? It may just be a trend, and that trend may phase out, and or you know that just go into being a popular person without necessarily any connection or mission statement. I want to be very clear that the goal of getting information on social media wasn't just to get a bunch of followers, but it was supposed to get a bunch of information to people who needed it, right? So those teenagers who don't get taught about this stuff in high school, I can't tell you how many times I see comments on like, oh my God, you've been teaching me more than what I learned in all of my years in high school and college, right? So like, that's the real goal. How do we get this information out? How do we be able to connect communities? How do we be able to really enhance a lot of the like social beliefs, especially when it comes through anti-Blackness? It's all the isms, right? I don't want to just single out one thing, but especially how a lot of our information is really whitewashed, dumbed down, and or just blatantly lied to, right? That George Washington example, I don't even think is an example of whitewashing. It's just a lie, right? You know what I'm saying? And there's certain times in our history to where we're taught things, and we go back and we're like, hold on, what did they just say? Like, exactly. You know, like somebody had to know that was not true and put that in our face. So with that being said, I feel like for the students that are listening and are trying to know that, you know, it doesn't happen in a day, what they're doing is building a foundation. And I would argue building that foundation, even though it comes slower, it comes more confirmed. It comes, your followers don't come in just waves. It doesn't come as a trend. It comes as something that is more solid, right, and attached to you. It comes, you know, to something that you can attach a brand to, right, and really have a purpose in outside of just having attention for attention. And I think that's the one thing that I really had to get over as far as social media is like, you know, having a camera in your face and just like being on a camera just to be on it. Because I was uncomfortable with that idea at first. And then I started to try to think of what is the purpose of me being on it? Like, yeah, Malcolm has a bunch of stuff to say, but like Malcolm is here with a purpose, right? Yeah, something. And even if that purpose is you, that purpose is Malcolm exists. Malcolm is a dope ass person. Malcolm, you know, we just love to hear him talk and say some real stuff. That's a purpose. That's some real, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be Rashid revolutionary stuff. It can just be simply, I am affirming space. You know what I'm saying? I see so many different folks on social media that's like, listen, I'm here just to keep folks mentally strong, right? Because I'm a person who's going through these experiences of like, mental health awareness, or just, areas to where my mental health wasn't as strong. And I'm gonna be on social media to confirm for you that you're not the only one. That's powerful. You know what I'm saying? Just to exist in the space and to hold that space. So anyway, I get off my high horse, but coming up slow is real for all the teenagers.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that, that translates to those of us, those who are, our folks going into college and coming out of school, in these generations right now. I would say definitely from anyone from about 13 to about 35, like we're all kind of, playing with this thing of social media and making it work for us in a way that probably older generations are very upset about. When you think about it, because our mamas and aunties could have been famous if that was the case. You know what I mean? But I wonder, for you, do you find that there's a moment where you think you are sharing too much or not enough, or have you ever felt that way as you've been, with your brand and your content?
I think that's such a great question, because that is something that I literally lend an ear to other folks to ask a lot of times, just to like engage with them on, how much stuff. Listen, for example, I think that for parents, right? I have a son, and for parents, when your child does something good, the first thing you want to do is like, let me record this, let me put this on camera and stuff. But there is this weird component of the internet, and I call it weird only because I don't necessarily understand some of it, which is like this. If I disagree with you, I have like this mission to try to ruin your life, right? And I and I know that other folks have opinions on that stuff, but I don't really mesh with that, right? Because I'm coming from a debate background. There's a bunch of people I had like totally disagreed with, and I sat in a room with them for 2 hours and debated it out until they realized that they were wrong, right? So I don't necessarily look at me. I'm talking about until they realized they were wrong. I was wrong sometimes too, y'all.
No, I get you.
Majority of the time, I won those debates. So I just gotta.
Hey. The wins count. I'm just saying.
Right. But and then that's powerful in itself, right? I have a friend called Marquise Art who is, I can't speak to how good he is at debate and just how intellectual he is. So, everybody has their different fashions of debate. My fashion, which I perfected, which I usually would get a lot of high speaker points was I could command attention, right? I was a good performer. And when I spoke with a lot of passion, right? At the end of my speeches, I would be sweating because I would exude so much energy, right? Well, most folks not gonna be sweating when they're done with, debate is not a sport activity. It's an academic activity, but Marquise is kind of like the opposite spectrum, to where he's very much so thinking about the text, right? The materials, the book, as far as, I'm saying, the philosophy and stuff. And the reason why I give him as an example is because when I think about, just this question of like, sharing too much or different things like that, it shows me that a lot of folks, especially when I get game from people like that, it shows me that sometimes if you aren't able, let me take this back. Let me be clear and quote him right. The lesson he taught me was that not only is it powerful in knowing what you know and being able to prove a person wrong, but it's also powerful of learning that you were wrong. Like that to me spoke of volumes, because that was something he taught me, like, it's value in learning, I was wrong about that. Let me reframe my mind and adapt to this new information that has been presented to me, right? And so I like to give people the opportunity to learn that they were wrong. You know what I'm saying? And that be okay. So I'm sorry I tied this to the question about sharing too much, but sharing too much to me brings me to that, because I often think about, what can I talk about something online that I may not already have an idea super fleshed out about, right? I don't know the answer to this in a while. I'm kind of still questioning it myself, right? And will that in itself, put me in a position to where folks are like speaking negative on me, or just like, think I'm not credible, or, negative comments, which we shouldn't pay attention to, as far as just a theme of social media to all the teenagers. Do not give comments any type of weight in your life. Look at them as a social media comment, something that you can turn off and not care about their opinion. I think one of the most powerful things is to make sure that you can stand firm and, you know, who you are, and not let anybody readjust, reframe, and speak about you negatively, especially if they don't know you or your character. But all of this to say is that I often think about this, and I don't necessarily agree with a lot of times folks being wrong in their life, being ruined, or let's attack the family, let's attack the college job right now. Agreed. When certain things happen, that, like, if they did something physically, right? So like prime example was the white man who completely like humiliated and disrespected the young black boy who was walking in the same neighborhood that his house was in. Yeah. And he was like, work for the military. That's just, right? Definitely. He did something physical to where like he harmed a person, like, you know, the Karen crisis, right? We got a whole Karen crisis. All of them, because these are physical things that you're terrorizing people. And a lot of folks don't realize is we call them Karens now as a joke, but this is how Jim Crow functioned. This is how historic racism functioned. It wasn't just judicial or legislative. It was a social impact to tell you where you could not go, where you could not eat, how you would get hung. You know, Emmett Till it wasn't no court date for who said, you know, Emmett Till got killed off of something that happened socially. You know what I'm saying? And they was a judge, jury, and executioner. So those things are real. But when it comes to social media and expressing ideas and constant information, I always come from a space of, you know, being open to being wrong. And the only thing I dislike about social media is this undertone of like, if you're ever wrong, sometimes, you know what I'm saying, it may have a possibility of bashing you. And I think my partner, George, I still call him my debate partner. We debate partners for life. But my debate partner, George, he deals with it really well. I think that, like, you know, he had a conversation about some critical stuff recently. And he had like get a quick apology. And I was like, oh, that's fire. He's like, oh, I just learned this new information. I said that was wrong. All right, go back. That was dumb as hell. This is wrong. You know what I'm saying? I value those things. So I just think it's powerful. It's powerful and not being wrong. And do I worry about oversharing too much? Yes. So I am I'm like very like, I don't want to, you know, share too much. So it's something I think about. Sorry.
No. And so in that, right, and to getting to where you and George are, like, I know there's never been a true like rule book, guidebook on how to do this thing called social media, because it keeps changing, right? And there is no one direct path. But, you know, I feel like we are missing those folks who can, I guess, teach or guide folks on how to get this thing, like, kind of grasp it for themselves, right? Just showing people, hey, this is how you can do this. This is like a real, actual, how can I say, a real actual like guide or a person who can like be a mentor in that way for folks. We need that, I think, you know. I think we really need that kind of thing, because I think there's so many people who are interested in doing this, right? Who want to continue this, but also there are those people on the flip side, like myself, like I'm a professional actor, right? And so we have to have social media now. This is not about your talent no more, right? It's your talent and how we can get your heat up. That's it, right? And so if you could be giving Viola Davis performances in your hometown, but if your social media game ain't up, who knows you?
Who knows you? Wow.
And that's the name of the game, right? Who knows you? It's not about who you know, right? And so how do we get people, how can do you have any ideas or any feelings towards like what I guess we can do to mentor or to shift this next generation and teaching them how to have ownership over branding and content in a way that is unique and attainable for them?
Yeah. You was just spitting right there, so I just gotta take a moment to, you know, so you were just spitting some facts right there, man. But that's dope. I didn't know you was an actor. I should have asked you about that. So that's dope in itself. I have a friend, and I still remember your question, but I have a friend just to going on the acting stuff real quick named Joshua Neal. I'm not sure if you follow him on TikTok, but he's a funny guy and he's a really good actor. So when you have some time, we'll follow Josh Neal. I've told him this when we was like younger days and stuff, but I really have a feeling that guy is going to blow up. And he's kind of a core example of what you're saying of, I can be giving Viola Davis performances, and it wasn't until, I had something that went viral that anybody even gave it attention. And then the thing that went viral wasn't even me showing my great acting skills, right? It may have been this thing.
Yeah, just you do something crazy out on the street. Right. You put on a wig and, people are like, that's hilarious. Right. I want to see more. And you're like, okay.
Right. Actually, I went to Juilliard, but okay, let's see.
Come on, I give you that, until you can get to that role. Because what we're finding in this, and I'll let you get to the question, answering the question, but what we're finding in this industry today is that, you're noticing a lot of Instagram stars, a lot of YouTube stars, now a lot of TikTok stars, right? You're starting to see them on Netflix. You're starting to see them on Hulu shows and things of that nature. And you're like, hold on now, I got a degree.
Yeah.
I just studied. Yeah. 1 + 1 ain't equaling 2 right now. You know what I mean? Like it's not equaling 2. How is that possible, right? But then they don't do so well, right? Because they don't have the training that you have. They just have the heat. And so you have to find the way in this show business or this industry now, which is completely merging all over, to get yourself there. What are the things you are doing? Because people don't know, but lo and behold, casting directors are looking at your Instagram.
Wow.
They're looking at if you got a TikTok thing, they're going to look at it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If they want to see a little something extra from you, or just somebody heard about you. They don't have anything, they don't have a project for you right now, but they heard about you. Oh, let me go. They have Instagrams too. Their assistants have Instagrams too, right?
Yeah.
Someone's gonna see you, but you gotta make yourself, you gotta position yourself to be seen. And I think a lot of people want to position themselves to be seen, not just what I'm doing, but those who want to do what you're doing, right? Want to take their skills and to put them to a camera with a ring light and make it happen. But how? The question really is how, and who? Like, I think whoever can figure this out, Rashid, whoever can teach the folks. Oh, you got some bread coming to you. You know what I mean? Because that's where. That's that next generation. That's that next level thinking, I think.
Yeah. No, you spitting facts right now, and I'm loving it. And one of the things that you said too in your question, before we even got into the acting subject, was this educational component, which is there are not a lot of folks that are on social media that are even teaching around the certain normal phrases, concepts, words, just our rhetoric that we talk. For example, it's been more common for a person to kind of identify gaslighting. They'll be like, "Oh, this person is gaslighting me," right? And rarely do you have a person who will break down, well, this is what this means. And what I see as a problem is a lot of times when you have conversations, especially as they relate politically, socially, or historically, if you don't have background information or a person that define and teach you certain things, you may be using wrong terminologies for something or use it right. This is the reason why people still debate on what racism is, because it wasn't a person who actually taught you about this in school. And so one of the things I'm going to be speaking about today, which is I just was having a phone conversation is this whole debate that's happening over CRT, critical race theory, which I think is super basic. But it's a big ordeal. We're actually going to talk about how racism is structured, and and to me, that is the reason to why, social media is being the leader and is going to continue to probably be the leader of educational practices of And we talk about on the real side, right? We talk about folks who actually know what they're saying. Some folks who actually have some great content and can combine some of that heat that you were speaking about. And it's because when you see when you are in certain classrooms, you can see that there is certain information that is intentionally being taken away, right? For whatever reason, right? I know I gotta have a whole lecture on what the reasons are.
Exactly.
But however we come to it, there should not be a reason to why a person goes to college and learns more on TikTok than they do in undergrad. It's no reason that should happen. It's no reason.
Man, let me tell you. I think for myself, what it is that because I'm at that juncture of my life, right? Like I have the 2 degrees in theater, right? I went and got my master's in undergrad, right? And then it wasn't until like I was leaving. Well, I kind of saw it in my 3 years in grad school, but like until I was leaving, how deep this connection to social media and acting had, right? The business. I was like, yo, they're not teaching us this. That's a problem. You know what I mean? If you are a performer, like it's now a requirement. I wish someone would have like, you know, I mean, I don't think we saw that the trajectory of social media would be this way. Yeah. You know, back when I was in college, I mean, the kids are probably going to laugh at this one, but I didn't get a smartphone until I was a junior in college. Wow. Because back then, you really didn't need a smartphone. Like it was still, it wasn't like the thing that everybody had to have one. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it is now. But when you know, having that opportunity and figuring out, okay, well, I could take this and really make this my thing from where I am. I don't have to be at Juilliard to do it. You know what I mean? What? What do you mean? Like that is like the next level thinking that that everyone has to be on if you want this, right? If you really want this in the way that you want it, you gotta put social media to it. The
fact that you're not having a smartphone till you was a junior is like, oh my God. The fact that shows you how powerful social media is, because in so many different ways, the one big critique that I have for anybody on social media, which is everybody, but for folks that are, you know, scrolling through the timeline and different stuff, is just because you don't see somebody on your timeline does not mean they're not there. Because we have this undertone of thought, which is if you're not visible, then you don't really exist and you're not doing anything. So when you see somebody, right, they could be working on an album, they could be practicing their lines, they could be trying to get opportunities or auditions for acting, you know what I'm saying, opportunities. And if they don't post about it, they're not doing it, right? And this is weird. This is a weird kind of component, which is that's not true. Like it's a lot of folks out here doing some great work and they don't post about it. So don't think that just because you're seeing certain folks on social media, this is the cream of the crop, right? It's a lot of folks doing some great work that you still should give credit, you still should pay attention to, and you still should tune into. And also don't let that be the foundation to your work. Yes, you want to be visible. Yes, you want to adapt. Yes, social media is very powerful, but make sure that you are focusing on your craft, the thing that you love as a priority versus the priority of the social media, because social media gets those skills to the masses, but you still want to harness and be able to, you know, really sharpen those skills as a person, you know, before you even turn on the camera. And I know that seems like a tall ask for a person born after 2000, but I you know what I'm saying?
There's you know, I think those 2000 on babies, I think they'll get it, you know, because they're at that juncture in their life, especially those 2000s. They're in college now, so like, I think they're seeing, you know, what it is, like what their millennium has turned into. So
it's hard though. I'm sorry. One thing I was going to say, and I know you got a bunch of questions, is that also just like on that 2000 to, you know, 2021, some of these kids are getting ready to graduate college, and the one thing that I really see a lot of times, especially because we were born in, I'm not sure when you were born, but I'm guessing you were born close to when I was born.
92.
Okay. Same. Same. So we were born in a cusp of, we got to see kind of both sides, right? We got to see the world without, and see how fun it was without. We had little stuff like, I don't know if you remember AIM,
Yeah.
or like, you know, so we had our little like doses of like, oh, this is fun. But our lives was not predicated around scrolling. You know what I'm saying? And it's rough to be able to define your life, to compare your life, to you really deem value around what is and what is not popular on social media. And I really try to like emphasize as much as possible the empathy I have for the 2000s. Because I think a lot of folks are like, these young kids, they got it so good. And I'm like, a lot of them got it hard. Imagine if you're if you go into high school, you think you fresh, and everybody's determining what freshness is off of social media, and you see somebody in Paris just came out of Louis Vuitton store, they get no job, or they have all these different things in which you're like, I don't have that, and you start to compare yourself to these unrealistic expectations, right? So I try to, as much as possible, also like emphasize the empathy that I have for these newer generations, because it's only getting worse, right? Yeah. And reality is coming harder and harder to decipher, right? You got all these different things that you see on social media that are just, you know, plainly not real. And studies are showing that it causes a lot of mental health decline. And it's very rough on our young folks. So as much as possible, I try to empower them and let them know, like, man, you know, whoever you are enough. You are powerful. You are, you know, the shit. I don't know if I'm cussing, but you the shit. Even if even if they, you know what I'm saying, even if it's not trending, you know what I'm saying, and be comfortable in your own skin, be comfortable who you are, because the world is creating standards which are not only unrealistic but are also just untrue sometimes. So.
Yeah. And so on that, Rashid, to switch gears on our last few questions, who would you say has been your biggest role model to this point, or has it changed, or, you know, anything of that nature?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I emphasize a lot of times how much, especially Black folks, need to be able to attach ourselves. Sankofa. Sankofa means return to your essence, right? And returning to who you are, seeing your past in order so you can have a better future. Mm-hmm. And in that Sankofa-esque, you know what I'm saying, upbringing, I often try to look towards elders to be, because that's like, you know, the most Pan-African way to think about it is like, who are the old folks. So I have elders, like I speak to, like, you know, Obi Tashaka, which is a professor at San Francisco State, 80 years old now, but like, you know, he talked to Malcolm X in person. You know what I'm saying? I have, you know, my other elder he's young, he's not old at all, but he ran the youth center of my high school, and he also does all the community organizing in Oakland. And speaking to him and seeing folks is foot on the ground. So it's a combination between those folks. Obviously, for me, historical figures like Dr. John Henry Clark is somebody I really like, you know, as a foundation of like my ideology. And young folks, right? Like, I really look up to my debate partner, George, on how much he has been able to combine and grab attention of social media folks, and really a lot of other young folks that are just striving for their dreams. So my answer is a culmination of all these different folks who've really just been, you know, paving the way and being themselves, and also standing for something. I'm one of those folks who really like when a person is standing and has a certain value that they stand on, and they represent that in a way that is really helping and bettering the world as a whole. So I'm a little bit of a hopeless romantic in context to like the world, right? I'm big on like unity. So if something is like, and I know that's not a popular thing to be big on, but I'm really like, if something is dividing Black folks, I'm usually against it. Like, no, we need to do something to get us together. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think about it. Literally, I started a whole organization in undergrad called the Black Juice Movement. And the whole, like it was an official part of the university, it was a student organization. And like the mission statement was to unify Black folks on campus, because when I first got to campus, it was, for one, the whitest place that I ever been, because it was, you know, how many thousands of students there, and I'd never been around that many white students, because I come from a super diverse place. They got Polynesians, I got a friend that's Lao, I got Filipino, I got all these different folks that's Black, Mexican, etc. And I went to a place that was like white. and a few black people. And a little, it was like no diversity. So I saw that black folks wasn't communicating with each other. There was no unification. I created a whole organization designed to be able to unify folks. That's just a big thing for me. So it's a culmination of folks, and really just anybody who's emphasizing or pushing unification of the people. You know what I'm saying? So
no, definitely. So Rashid, if you could leave us with any personal quote, what would it be? Or like something you would like us to remember you by here at the top.
my quote that always comes to my head is a quote that's but I'll give you two just so the one I always think about. It's just something I always think about. But the first quote is by none other. Of course I'm gonna say his name. Is a J. Cole quote. And if you don't know this quote, something to live by. You know what I'm saying? But but he says, I gotta make a move, I gotta do this now. And if they don't know your dreams, then they can't shoot them down. And really what I said to me was that don't worry about the public perception. You know what I'm saying? Don't base what your goals are in life and where you're going based off of how somebody reacts when you tell them. If Malcolm wants to be an actor, if Malcolm tells his friend, hey, I want to be an actor, his ambitions to be an actor shouldn't be based off of whatever that friend says. Because a lot of times those will be the people who stunt the growth. I remember Jay-Z telling a story about like how he said he was going to be better than LL Cool J. And his uncle was like, what? Shut up. Like, you're going to be better. And now he's Jay-Z. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? So if they don't know those dreams and they can't shoot them down, and then we got to say it at our house. My fiance is starting her new line. Y'all go, support Black-owned business. She got a new wig company. Oh, I can't see it. My background messing it up. You see?
No, your background. You just see the girl. I don't see anything.
Oh no! There we go.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
A wig company. She started called B Lovelace Hair. Anyway, it's an RJ quote that says, it's hard to blow up. These folks ain't messing with you, but so what? Keep your head down, get your nose up, keep going. So it's just like, regardless if you get likes, regardless if you get attention, keep doing what you're doing. Do not let that waver you, because the stuff that you get likes for, 2 years from now will be the same thing that people were saying, oh, that was weak back in the day. And then, that I actually wasn't supposed to say that quote, but my last one was something I really lived by that I try to. That's hard. I think it's hard for folks to hear because it sounds very abrasive. It sounds very like mean at first, but it's in context to something that Dr. John Henrik Clarke said, who by the way was a very old man when he said this at the time. He said, I spent my whole adult life studying these subjects in which I talk about, and he said, I will only debate with my equals. All others I'll teach. And what he said that was if you haven't put in the same work, right? If you haven't had the prerequisite courses, so to say, to talk about an engagement subject, I'm probably a better teacher for you than a debate, right? Like you should be like, you should probably be trying to learn more than you are instead of contrast. And so I mean that you have to have a certain prestige or a certain level to say something like that. But I always thought that was powerful because I think that when you are putting in a lot of work into having information, into having content and knowing what you're talking about, you're probably it's a common phrase for folks that haven't spent 2 Google searches on what you're talking about to say you're wrong, right? You're like, you should probably listen to me instead of attempting to debate me. So yeah, that's my last one. Dr. John Henrik Clarke.
All right, so we're almost there, but really, really, really quick. If you can recommend a book to our viewers, what would it be?
I knew that question was coming up, and I was like, oh, there's so many. I don't know what books to recommend. All the books that I recommend will be super controversial. The one book that I've really been on is a book by Walter Rodney called How Europe Undeveloped Africa. That book really helped me understand how to break out of the individualistic mindset and how to really understand how, you know, success doesn't mean that I'm successful. Success means that my community is being successful. And to me, that means a lot. I'm trying to finish. I didn't take it too long to finish this book that was on Nipsey list. Lauren London had told me to read this book called The Way of the Superior Man, which really challenges these notions of masculinity and femininity. Have you heard of that book?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that was something I was on. But if I were to give one, I think it'll be. Yeah. Hold on. See, I don't want to say. Is it either the Sertima book? The Destruction of Black Civilization? No, that's gonna be too deep. Yeah, let's go with the let's go with the biography of Assata Shakur is something that I really hold dearly. Yeah, so any of those. I'm sorry I had one. I really thought deeply about that question too. I was like, what book would I recommend that's kind of like good for a person? I don't want to say the autobiography of Malcolm X. Folks know, you know, generally would know, but
yeah. No, I got you. I appreciate it. You know what, Rashid? I thank you so very much for taking the time on the other side of the country, for blessing us with your presence. This is really, it's been a treat, sir. And so to all our viewers, thank you for tuning in. Unfortunately, as you all know, this is all the time we got for today. However, before we go, Rashid, we do debate games real quick before we end the show. So we would like to play a game called with you called Block Bok.
Okay.
Sorry. Try that again. We would like to play a game with you called Block Book. Excuse me.
Okay.
Like Facebook Block Book. So with all the recent privacy concerns surrounding social media usage and comment violations, internet trolls, and the lack of boundaries online, we are going to list a few names, and you have to decide whether or not they should be allowed to have a social media page. And express themselves 100% freely. Why? And what might one of their posts look like? Okay. You ready? Yeah. All right. SpongeBob.
SpongeBob should be able to have a social media page. I think you'll probably talk about Krabby Patties. I'm not sure. Yeah. And I'm talking about SpongeBob, the character, not the writer. I don't know. I know some of these writers have weird histories, but I'm talking about whoever I saw on the cartoon. So I don't want to hear anything about the writer. This writer did something. I don't know the writer. That's just, you know, whatever they say on the cartoon. So yeah, SpongeBob is good in my book.
Cool. Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. No. We're going to have a hard pass on that social media. Not just because, well, see, I want censorship, this whole conversation. A part of me actually thinks that he, you know, should have, but here is where I say a hard line for me and where I understand why Donald Trump social media has been taken away. When you move people to actually do something physical that could actually cause a mass hysteria around incorrect information, it is dangerous. So for that reason alone, just because he has the ability to cause mass hysteria around information that is incorrect, say no. That's probably the only reason I would say anybody's social media page should be taken away. So before January 6th, I think everybody was like, you know, but he's been saying wrong stuff for a long time, in my opinion.
Come on. Peter Griffin from Family Guy.
Oh no, Peter Griffin is racist as hell. Peter Griffin funny, but Peter Griffin said some wild stuff. Boy. Peter Griffin, man, look how he did Cleveland. Oh no, Peter Griffin, no.
That's true.
Peter Griffin, wow, he's funny though. So I'm on the fence with Peter Griffin because he is funny. So on the fence, don't know about Peter Griffin. He might be okay to have a social media.
Got you. Kanye West.
Yeah, get Kanye in social media. Let him wild out. Let him go on his rants on Twitter. Hey, his shoes are selling out. So somebody love Kanye. So like, and every time he drops, people are talking about it's the hottest out. So there's a love-hate for Kanye West, and I understand it. But the love outweighs the hate, I think, a lot of times, because at the end of the day, people go back to saying how much they love him. So let Kanye be Kanye. He's a genius in his own right. Just comes out very differently.
And last but not least, Candace Owens.
Candace Owens. Let her have a social media. Yeah. She can be loud and wrong all she wants. Let her continue to be. And this is the thing about Candace Owens. Candace Owens is an intellectual. She's so smart. And one of the things that I realized, especially through debate, is there's a lot of smart dummies. And I don't mean that in any offense, but I mean the people who are super smart, super academically gifted, and know a lot of historical, because there's some things that me and Candace Owens would actually agree on. But they come to the wrong conclusions very often with having a lot of information. And that, unfortunately, is Candace Owens. But Candace Owens is a powerful Black woman. I don't want to beat my sister down, even though she would beat me down in a second if something happened to me. Literally, if something happens to me, she's going to pass over all the debate stuff. You know, one time he wore a shirt with Nipsey on it, and shit, it's always this.
It'll be one.
Yeah, it was a lot. Her lack of humanity for Ma'Khia Bryant recently kind of like it hit me in a different way, and I was like, it was wild. It wasn't even about the politics; it was just about your humanity. But of course, you should have a social media. You know what I'm saying? She's super smart, but she comes to the wrong conclusion very often.
Yeah, no, I agree. Ironically, I was saying to a friend of mine a few weeks ago about that situation. I was like, you know what? I would love to see your debate partner, George, and Candace have a nice debate. I would love to see. I would pay good money.
Yes. George would be so hyped for that. George would be like, let's go. George would love that.
I would love to see, because I've watched so much of how George has done some of his debates, like on social media. So I'm like, yeah, I'd love to see what she does. I would love to see how she pivots. If she can pivot in certain situations. But yeah, that's my fun dream. Yeah. But thank you again to all our viewers. This is officially all the time we have for today. Do you agree with Rashid? Do you disagree with Rashid? Feel free to email us at thenewarkdebater@gmail.com. And remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you've enjoyed what you saw today, please let us know. Like, share, subscribe, comment, all those fun things. We appreciate all the support that you guys have given us and will continue to give. And make sure you follow our amazing guests, The Perfect Prophet, on TikTok. If you already don't, by the end of this video, definitely be a follower. And we'll definitely see you guys next time on the next edition of The Newark Debater.
Perfect Prophet on Instagram, Perfect Prophet 11 on TikTok. I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much, Malcolm. You've been great. You got my mind going. Have a good one, everybody.
Boom.